Part 5. So now we have the so far like three parts. We're going to put the renewable 3-part renewable geothermal / solar / waste heat / wind farm concept with battery generating from one pot method to remove dependency on all fossil fuels. Given enough time and investment. There you go. 3 parts so far. Destroys most people's arguments completely. And in all aspects. Literally. Just like, why are you arguing for that? And the answer is, I don't want to change. Also, I like having the money from that. And also, that's my kind of like way of life that you're changing, and I don't like it. And I will look bad if I admit that I could have been doing this instead. And I'm like, you already look bad. Shut up, Exxon. Stupid cunts. All of them, really. I'm like, what's that? Fryer oil? What you got over there? What you got over there? What you got over there? Forest fires? Give me all that. Give me. Here's some freaking fertilizer. Get it out of here. I don't even need it anymore. The government says you are required to take this fertilizer from us. Very highly nutritious and high mineral content fertilizer. You need this. You're not allowed to not take it. Which is literally what that is. And it's like, here's a way to do it for yourself there, farmers. Granted, this is going to give you a lot of fertilizer because they use a lot of fuel. And so it's like, oh, it's fine. Every a quarter, every season, basically, you're going to get fertilizer. So it's like, yeah, no, I mean, you can do it yourself for your fuel's probably just fine. But like, well, it'll get there eventually. It'll get there someday. Someday, eventually. I don't think so, sir. No. I'm lying to myself. That's how I feel about it. Because I would have like, yeah, I could do it. And then it would have been like, oh, yeah. It's quite a bit more than I figured. But then they're like, oh, this is making a lot, and we'll just shove it into Heartland, and like that sequesters a large amount of that carbon, and then it's like, oh right, then we can always add our own little forest around that. And then I was like, oh right, then we're just like, oh, we got this goop or whatever that can like dehumidify the air, and then the solar panels angle it the right way, we can lift it up, we can cut off the corn stalks with like a little attachment and have like a little vertical, and if you position it right, the little shade now gets reflected light from the solar panels, and we collect a little bit of water, and during your rainy or humid season where you can't really grow anything, it's like, oh, I can now collect that into big ginormous amounts of water tanks. And for the electricity that you're going to get from you probably have your own hydrocarbon storage and everything else, pump it. Just use gravitational storage or pump it over. And now you have like a double the farm, because like you have so much fertilizer, I can just put it into a bunch of these things in the air and just cut off the corn or something. And it's like I've got like a little bit of reflected light, and then this should equal the same. And so that's kind of where I was at on that, because it was like, oh, that would work really, really well. That we should do that. You know what I mean? And so it's like, but you know, you do have to modify your harvesters and so on. So like it's what it is. It's an investment, you know. And then it's like, oh, I can't grow anything. Let me just get out my giant warm pots, and here's my windmills and my solar panels, and like, you think I won't make more electricity than you? I don't want the government having a say over my electricity. It's like, got your neighbors going off of your electricity, and then you've got like the next state over, and then it's just a trend that grows, and then it's like, now it just produces all of our electricity. And I'm like, I don't care, government. Isn't this competition? Power to the people. Power to the people. That's what I feel as honestly, because it's like, that's people get the power here. Literally. Like literally. And then they produce more, because you can mix half and half or drop that other, and you know, because like even if it's a pot and it's not all the water, and you have to put in your fertilizer, mix it up, all that stuff, it's all doable. But like, you know, be able to actually re-veg or, you know, regrow on that vertical farm, which isn't going to be hydroponics anymore, which is efficient for water use, but now instead we're using soil that's up in the air. Then we have slowed down wind, so like, because we have the solar panels where the hopefully you can grow over time these trees, but you don't really want to grow typically they're like, I just want to plant trees, and I'm like, grow the trees. You can just put the solar panels there, grow the trees. Grow those trees. Like, that mostly going to go into those trees, and they'll always be watered. And eventually it'll get so significant that like you can start harvesting water and then, you know, offset either completely or a decent amount of your total water use, which is now a more sustainable water farm. And I was like, you know what? Get that little dip thing in it, and then, like, you know, with the ground thingy. I was like, well, that's where fertilizer lives, and I could just dump fertilizer in there underneath instead of like trying to, you know, mix it all up with my new, just coming in every dang season fertilizer. Every day, just play my seeds there, so that works out. There's that one. And so that's what I was like, oh yeah, no, because I'll have extra fertilizer. Just, you know, mind kind of starts going for it, because it's like, oh yeah, no, why don't we do that? And it's like, it's cost, effort, energy. It's an investment. It's almost always an investment talk. Whenever I hear someone talk about it, it's investment. You're talking about us changing blah 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 blah. And I'm like, but you're saying we need a change. This is a real solid solution, unlike that you are pretending will work, which is carbon capture and sequestration technologies, which burn energy. Along with like, oh, we have this windmill and the solar panel and all that. And I'm like, which take energy from carbon to make. Now I have silicon that I'm getting from my one pot method, small amounts. And it's like, yeah, but that one pot method can actually help break apart the oxygens that are attached to sand if you do that right. Which means I get pure silicon to start with, and then I can refine it for less energy cost over time, which will then eventually get me silicon panels for our solar panels. Pretty simple idea, really. So, anyways, but there's methods to the madness. Okay, there's methods to those madness, and there's step-by-step processes. All of which, like, just because I'm breaking all this wood, lead, carbon area, like, there's this denser, like, it's got a lot of salt. There's got like some, acidity and all this that's really gonna kill anything that tries to go deep down. But that's a-okay for what we're gonna do. But it's like there's a whole method there that you have to do it step by step in order to get this kind of result. And there are better methods than just the one I'm saying. There have to be. I came up with this over a little bit of time with a little bit of knowledge, not money. And that's basically what you get. Okay? There are smarter people than me. That's how that works. But when we talk about like all of that put together, this is a solid solution. And it's basically, really realistically, the only solution that feasibly could be done, because we are going to hybridize and efficiency or whatever the engines by upgrading them. Any cash for clunkers, and like now it's like, oh yeah, no, I can use this hydrocarbon that is something I can also possibly even purchase, because with my offset savings from the government investing in me to have that efficiency with those batteries and those upgrades, which remove the overhead cost of gas. Now I'm going to be able to make some of my own while still being able to most likely be like, we should all have this. We're a bunch of people this is the new fuel thing. Why is the government not doing this? Which then turns it into, all right, we're going to invest in that. That's our next new, hey, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm for the people, and blah, 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 spin. Vote for me. We'll get this done. It's done. We have sewage treatment from this. We have waste management treatment from this. And we have recycling from this. They pay you to make fuel for them. If they're involved in that program, instead of making it for free, and they're paying you a certain amount of your taxes or whatever, that means you have a reduced fuel cost, because you're getting that fuel comparatively. That's a program you can run, which the government can subsidize. So a percentage of your money will go towards reducing the actual amount of fuel costs that you have to have that fuel from the government. It can still be private, but the government would be better in all aspects, because effectively it means suck it up. All of you are going to run the good fuel. Exxon hasn't done it. This Shell hasn't done it. BP hasn't done it. Kirkland hasn't done it. Costco stuff. Any of them, they don't do this. So suck it up. This is mandatory now for this fuel. And it's like, I don't like mandatory. And I'm like, and yet you complain about how hot and how cold and why don't you do anything for the environment? The moment they do something for the environment, you're all against it now. So I feel like you need to shut up. Shut the F up. Shut up. Shut up. Not relevant. Shut up. You're invalid with your argument. Shut up. We cannot do anything, but now we can do something. Shut up. You either mandate the private, which you're not going to do, or you make the government do it, which is mandated. This is the only way to do it. And you basically go, I don't like either of these options. And I go, shut up. Shut up. Stop complaining. Shut up. Shut up. Literally be quiet. Sit down. Don't be involved. That's what you're saying you want. You don't want to be involved, so shut up. Shut up. Now we're going to get into the fourth area of how to solve the energy crisis. The fourth area is, unfortunately, not renewables and a cool, road, which is a project, which is a construction project, much like the Hoover Dam, that the government will run, giving you, or privately, contract. That means you can now have these roads rebuilt and paved, and it'll last a little longer because the heat doesn't kill them, and the sun isn't killing them, and the salt isn't killing them, and then because they're covered, and then they have water for animals to cross, and so there's less roadkill. So there you go. It's not that. Now it turns into, really realistically, the stupid system is we talked about the radio, talked about Andrew talked about that. ECU timing pressure. Right, yes. Here we are. So, we're going to get into programming real quick. Ow. Wait a second. Then we're going to get into hydraulic ram free valve, which I briefly touched on. And then we're going to get into the final installment for ECU, timing, pressure, blah, 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 stuff with algorithms to effectively make the final upgrade path viable. Okay, so because an ECU is usually like garbage stuff, bad. The way they program it is just ugh. Fuel mapping is a lot of this is, and I don't like it. It's bad. So we're gonna get into how a human brain works for its hybrid analog digital programming for its neuronal basis with the chemicals, neuron-electron firing, and synaptic looping and firing, and the setup for its logic gate matrix for the given areas inside of the neuron area therein that it processes for the given neural network weighted bases that ultimately drive your decision-making, likes, desires, and more. This is a good thing to get into. In fact, I pretty much just did it because that's how we have to program our silicon chips, because otherwise we're going to get into stupid bottlenecks that are stupid, and I hate them. All right. So, as the photons hit your retina, they send an electrical current to parts in your brain in the rear of your brain. Okay, they don't save information where your retinas are or in the line in between, and the pulse is a then sent pulse to a area of the neuron that then sends a sodium channel ion, an expression of various neurochemicals that effectively target a neural weightedness in its neural network programming that happens to derive saying this is blue, green, and so on in these respective areas. We are going to do the same thing for the programming on our silicon chips. Hold your horses. Gigahertz, what are those fucking stupid cunts? I hate them. Yeah, that's a, big old timing. I got 1,000 hertz of this quartz. That's all it is. I hate them. I'm like, what's the in between? The off? But that's also a 1 if I want it to be programmed that way. A 0 is now a 1, a 1 is now a 0. That's 2 cores. And now it's doing work both ways. I don't need to not do that. So it's always doing work. That's what we're going to do. But with a caveat, we're going to have a breakout program, much like a hash. Now, a hash is going to take a value of anything. Let's say it's the word ACAB. Okay? It's ACAB, A-C-A-B. It's going to run it through. It's going to put a bunch of letters and numbers associated with it because it happens to have a program that then assigns a value of certain bytes, and then it goes, oh, it's now whatever this hash is. But it now uses these prime numbers to essentially do that. We're going to remove the prime numbers. I don't care about the prime numbers. The prime numbers are garbage. I don't care. I want that program, the program that assigns the values. Because I already know what those assigned values are going to be. I need less actual byte information, and because I can then assign those byte informations to bit information through its processing of the ones and zeros that go through the processor in its cache and memory. For RAM, I now have the ability to effectively double its processing speed, assign the correct logic gate matrix for it to calculate, then assign that logic gate matrix to a specified region for we're going to use a cylinder position sensor, meaning where the piston head is in the cylinder at bottom dead center, top dead center, middle dead center, and so on. Its accelerational parameters going down or up, the air temperature at the ports, the pressure sensors, and the airflow sensors at those ports and exhaust, because that gives me better control over intake, fuel, and all the rest of it, which makes it more efficient. And because I am processing based upon each one of those cylinders and each one of those given parameters, now I have a logic gate matrix that is for each one of those given areas with redundancy for each core, quotation marks, in the machine code that I'm going to run for that. Now, as a result of that breakout program, it can be remarkably faster because we're going to turn it into essentially an analog that has byte information that comes out, making it much more efficient, much more powerful, and much faster at doing it. As a result of that, I have higher rates of polling that can be done, because that's essentially all I need to really do, and run it through constantly as a 0 and 1, and then break it out at the respective times necessary for it to do its function at any given volume of RPM or intake and all the rest of it. Now, as a result of that, I improved efficiency. That's the algorithm effectively that you're going to run. You're going to do advanced timing. You're going to change some of the parameters because of the based pressure sensor that is in the bases of the pressure sensor and the cylinder pressure that you're going to have for knowledge, and the heat in that cylinder as it goes up and it goes down based upon the expected values that you're already getting, and you should already know, and it has in its memory table. You will then be able to tailor it based upon barometric pressure, outside temperature, all the rest, and then what you're getting at ports. Now, that's an algorithm, and we can advance timing and retard timing, respectively, to improve the efficiencies with a hydraulic ram that is now your poppet valve or sliding valve or any of the other valves that you want to run that will run your engine. That is now a free valve, but not really a free valve because they're a different thing. We're just a hydraulic ram, which also helps to cool your headers. And so, because it's lower down and less weight, it helps. And that is the entirety of the programming done really quick. The hydraulic ram free valve concept really quick. The let's see here, ECU, timing, pressure, all that rather, their stuff done really fast, and it is now fully all completely done. Free valve, timing, programming, so this is an upgrade, by the way, and you're going to need it. You're going to want it. For all of it. It's not just for your ECUs, it's for all of your computers. You need this because it effectively means you can run far more efficiently for your clock cycles, and it will add up tremendously to less heat waste and less energy wastage for computers, which really do run the world and are a significant chunk of our electricity used. So it's a pretty big deal. ECU, sensor, and algorithm, rhythm upgrades. And with these 4 total, which by the way, you can go power, performance, or not power. So you have power, which is performance, eco, and dynamic, which is trying to get as much power with as much, it's a hybrid of eco and power hybrid modes, which improves efficiency. Again, with these, which you should now actually be able to see without me actually doing all that extra work, what do you know? The energy crisis is now drastically reduced and will be solved over a decade or 2. If you can actually get it done, you have people that are willing to invest, do the work, and do it. I solved it! Now stop complaining and do it. Why? This is why I get angry sometimes when I'm alone by myself.